Are you ready to have your problems solved? This is very simple. Oh, but he's behind the bar in 3 dimensions. It's true. How I've done this, it's very impressive. I've actually put 2 images of the bar image that was found on Google Images when you type in bar image. One of them is behind me in the layers. One of them is in front of me, this bit here. Now, what I really wanted was the ability to kind of reach over and almost put things on the bar, but I would need a green screen physically in the world to do that, so we can't do that. Anyway, let me explain the purpose of this stream. Start pouring us drinks. No. I'm going to give you something better than a drink. I'm going to give you advice. It's going to be free, and it's going to be worth every penny. That's the name of this segment now. Because I was inspired yesterday. While I was streaming Uncharted 4, someone said to me, Josh, how do you answer all the questions in chat? And the answer is, I don't. Because when I'm playing video games, I'm distracted by the fact that I'm playing a video game. I can't give my full attention to you guys. But what if I needed to? Here's the plan. What if I could answer your questions and solve your problems, and in doing so, improve your life? Because I think I've got 2 traits that make me uniquely positioned to give advice. And both of those traits actively make my advice always objectively correct. Trait number 1, I am a man. Trait number 2, I am a content creator, an influencer, and therefore always right in whatever opinion I hold. And you will hold it too, because I know that you don't want to do that pesky thing called thinking. That's why you're here, because you've had a bit too much to think. But I'll tell you what you need to do. Trait number 3, I am British. Objectively a nation of people who have, correct me if I'm wrong in this, but I'm not, historically never done anything wrong. So, hit me with your questions, and I'm going to hit you with some answer bombs. You're already feeling influenced. Good. Right. Now, what would you like to know? Maybe you want advice. What happened to the British Empire? We don't talk about that. How do I solve my problems with choice paralysis in free time related activities? This leads to me not doing things I would normally, and I end up wasting a lot of time. That's actually a very good question. How many of you have sat down to do something that you know you enjoy, but then when you start doing it, you immediately feel bored? How many of you have downloaded a PC game, loaded up the PC game, got to the main menu, clicked new game, and within 5 minutes, closed the program? How many of you have gone to turn on your games console, sat down, controller in hand, as soon as the game boots up, you don't want to play it anymore? Why do we feel that way? What has happened to get us to that point? I don't feel like I'm getting called out. It could be a level of depression, in which case you do need to go and speak to a professional about it. I know you're thinking, Josh, aren't you a professional? Yes, but not in this. This is free advice, remember. It's worth exactly what you're paying. Why does that happen to everyone? Because I'm not. It happens to me as well. Like, I download MMORPG games or PC games and I load them up, and as soon as I'm like 5 minutes in, I close them. I'll start a new game on Factorio, and by building 3 or 4 factories, I immediately close it down. I think what it is I remember that the game was enjoyable. I remember that the process was fun. I remember that on a certain level, I am the kind of person who likes doing that thing. But I think I'm remembering the best part of that thing, not necessarily all of that thing. It's the rose-tinted glasses thing. I try and explain to someone that watching the highlights of baseball is fantastic because it's always amazing to see all the home runs. But watching all of baseball is actually remarkably boring because a lot of stuff doesn't happen, that kind of thing. But also, how do you guys think about this? When you were younger, maybe you didn't have as many PlayStation games or PC games or Xbox games or Game Boy games. If you were lucky enough to have video games at all, maybe it was board games, maybe it was books. Because you only had a limited number of them, when you had free time to engage in the hobby of gaming or the hobby of reading or the hobby of board gaming or the hobby of modeling, you kind of had to go to those things because they were the things that you had. If you wanted to play a video game, you didn't have every video game ever to choose from. You had like 4 or 5. So you simply went to those and you played all the way through them. And there's a point of kind of frustration and a sticking point where if you push through something, you get into it. But there's that level of friction immediately when you start something. You have to kind of push past it to get into doing something. We're getting to a point now, and I'll tell you about a really interesting article I read earlier. We are getting to a point now where when people sit down to do something, they expect to be given the prime version of that thing, the best version of that thing immediately. Just mainline it straight into your veins, sit down, play a video game, here's the best video game experience immediately. And in doing that, you remove pacing. You remove the ability for the video game to build up to anything, to fall down from anything. You remove the journey, remove the pacing. But this actually combines very, very heavily with mobile games, which I maintain are not games, they are products. They are experiences specifically designed to keep you on them and to keep you clicking. And TV shows now, Netflix is effectively designed to make you watch it, not to make you engage with it, not to make you invest into it, but to simply sit down and passively absorb the whole thing. So when you say, why can't you do the things that you find fun anymore? I think it's not entirely your fault. Partly it is because you are existing, we are all existing, within an environmental and an entertainment kind of shell, if you will, that is designed to bypass all of the pacing. It is designed to bypass all of the investment. It is designed to bypass effectively all of that and give you the dopamine for it immediately. And by giving the dopamine for something immediately, when you start something else and you don't get that dopamine immediately, you start to think, well, this doesn't feel the same way that it normally feels. This doesn't feel fun anymore. What's happening up with this? Why isn't this giving me what it gave me before? The answer is because it will give you that, but in time. It's the case of, going to the gym, lifting a light weight and thinking, well, I'm not feeling the same as I was when I was lifting the really heavy weights. Yeah, you want to eat a nice cake, you're going to have the lovely frosting on it, but you've got to have the other parts of the cake as well. Sometimes it's a case now of entertainment is designed to bypass all of that and to immediately give you the feeling of this is good straight away. This doesn't feel fun anymore. This is like all of your other streams. Thank you. I'm glad that all of my other streams also aren't fun. Right, let's go with more questions. I can solve all of your problems, provided you don't ask me deep or difficult things. What is time? These questions are very varied. Now, I'm ready and I'm prepared for all of them, but they are remarkably varied. One of them is, I'm going to be a dad next year. How do I dad? The other one is, what are 4D numbers? Then it's, can you explain the Troubles in Star Wars terms? I assume by the Troubles you mean the fracas in Ireland or Northern Ireland. Why is the sky blue? What is 6-7? How do I make friends? Right, we're getting some really good points here. How do I make friends? That's a good question. Be the kind of person that other people like being around. That is very much an answer to a vast majority of questions. The most common question people ask all the time is, how do I get a girlfriend? Very simple. Be the kind of person that people like being around. Guys and girls, because then you are a fun person to be around. You're a safe person to be around. How do I calculate VAT? Take the amount that you've paid, divide it by 10, which gives you 10%, divide that in half that effectively, which gives you 5%. And if you're still in the country to pay 17.5%, halve the 5% you just got, which gives you 2.5, then add those together, which will give you 17.5%, which used to be VAT in the UK. It was 10% half add. How do I make friends when I do not like people? If you don't like people, why do you want to make friends? Genuine question. Really, why do you want to do that? If you do not like being around people, why do you care if people are going to be your friend or not? What's the best way to come up with YouTube topics? Good point. That's genuinely a good question. Make videos on stuff that you actually care about. And I tell this to so many people. Every time someone discovers that I do YouTube, especially if that person has a kid, they straight away go, oh, my kid wants to be a YouTuber, they should talk to you. And before I've even said, no, please don't do that, the child is there straight away going, oh, what should I make YouTube videos on? Should I do trending topics? Should I do challenges? Should I do pranks? And I actually sit down and go, what do you actually like? What do you enjoy? What do you want to be known for? That's the plan. What can you care about that other people don't care about? Make videos on that, because the amount of YouTube gurus, and this is a topic obviously close to my heart, the amount of YouTube gurus that say, if you want to make a YouTube channel, you got to make trending videos. You got to find out what's trending. You got to find out what's popular. You got to make what's popular. No, you don't. Because then you are competing with everyone else that has no imagination trying to make things that are popular. What you need to do is sit back and say, what do you care about more than other people? The reason I made videos on MMORPGs is not because they are popular. They objectively aren't. It's because I care about them a lot. I like them a lot. I want to share my passion for them a lot. And when people watch YouTube videos, they don't necessarily always just Google trending thing. Very few people actually sit down and just watch whatever is trending. They sit down and watch what they care about. And they watch other people talking about things that they care about. Any of you guys seen that older chap that does woodworking tutorials on YouTube? Looks like everyone's granddad comes in talking about woodworking and all these little techniques he's got and whatnot. I can't do woodworking at all, but I will watch that guy because he's sharing what he's passionate about, and I love that. I'm not particularly good at doing Sudokus, but I will sit and watch Cracking the Cryptic all day. I don't know much about game dev, but I will sit and watch Juniper Dev talk about the way that she's making games. I don't know much about the American healthcare system, but I will sit and watch Kamikaze Shortbus talk about it because all these people are passionate about what they are talking about. So, if you want to say, what do you make YouTube videos about? Answer the same question. What are you passionate enough about that you could talk to someone about it for a long time because you care about it? Now, I do want to talk about an article I read earlier, and I want to see if you guys agree with this. It was a really interesting article sent to me by the director of the film project I've just finished. And it was about the modern luxury lifestyle and how apparently there are a bunch of companies, a bunch of lifestyle brands who occasionally get together to work out what the next luxury thing is that they're going to advertise at rich and wealthy and powerful people. They'll basically say, hey, if you do this, it's a status symbol. If you do this, it's a powerful thing. Now, many years ago, it was things like own a supercar, Ferrari, Lamborghini, own a private jet, go on nice expensive holidays, own a Rolex. It's a lot of stuff. It was very kind of commercial. It was very physical based. The status symbol, that kind of thing. Now, in order for a status symbol to be a status symbol, it has to, by its very nature, be rare. It has to have a level of rarity to it, because the point is you have the in-group, which is a very small amount of people doing this thing, and then the out-group, which is a huge amount of people that can't do the thing. And it was a fascinating article that I was reading, because previously the status symbol, the powerful status symbol, was supercars, Ferraris, Lamborghinis. But now you can rent, and a lot of people do, you can rent a supercar for a day, you can do a photo shoot in or around a supercar, you can have a sports car, meetup kind of thing. And seeing someone with a supercar is no longer the status symbol that it was, because you don't know whether they own it or they have rented it, or it's not rare anymore. It's not prestigious anymore. Then it became Rolexes, and Rolexes are now so well faked that you can't tell whether it is real or not. People don't care about them as much. Then it became things like massive mansions in the hills. Then it became all this stuff. It was very, very physical for a long time. Do you guys want to know what the most powerful modern status symbol is that companies are actually trying to advertise at the rich and powerful people right now? It's really interesting. It is the concept of being offline. That's what it is. Because they sat down and they said, right, what is difficult to do? The concept of being offline, not needing to check emails, not checking your phone, not being on social media, not being immediately accessible. Logging off. That is the newest thing that they're trying to really push on the wealthy and powerful people. If you meet someone and they're like, okay, hey, what social media have you got? And they go, none. Okay, when do you check your emails? I don't. Okay, what do? I do offline things. I read books. I read newspapers. I play offline single-player video games. I go and join a book club. I go down to the pool hall and play some pool for a bit. I go and play five-a-side football with my mates every week and that kind of stuff. That is what it is. That is the new status symbol. The ability to be offline is the new status symbol. That's weird. I mean, think about it. It's a cycle. When the BlackBerry first came out and the first couple of iPhones first came out, they were relatively rare and they were very expensive for the time. And if you, especially those little in-ear Bluetooth things, remember those guys? Anyone have one of those? You can admit it's a safe space here. And we'll have those little Bluetooth ear things you'd put in. You look like a businessman. You'd always press it and pretend that you're in Star Trek or something like that. When they were new and rare and expensive, that was the status symbol. to have that, to be contactable. And the reason that it was a status symbol, to be contactable, was because other people weren't contactable. You were something that other people weren't. You were doing something that other people were not doing, thus status was achieved. Now, absolutely everyone has that. Most people have a smartphone. Most people have the ability to be contacted 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every single week of the year. That's what it is. But now, the ability that you just don't need to do that, the fact that you can live your life without doing that. How many people do you know who would be able to comfortably live their life if they went offline? I mean, like, no Facebook, no Twitter, no Instagram, no Discord, no LinkedIn, no WhatsApp, just the ability to phone them up on their actual phone number if you need to, and have them still do business deals, still have enough money in the bank, still have a social life, still have the ability to contact people, that kind of stuff. That's incredible. The living offline now is one of the biggest status symbols. My 93-year-old grandma would never be offline. People say they could survive. It's like, yeah, it's basically, people love the idea of going offline for a bit. People treat it as a holiday again. People treat it as I'm not going to be contactable for a week. I'm going off social media. I'm deactivating Facebook for this. I'm doing all that kind of stuff. And they treat it as almost a special period of time, a special moment, a holiday from normality. I would love to be able to do that. I'll let you in on a secret, guys. Social media. Remove the word social. It's not social media as far as advertising is concerned. It's attention media. Your attention is one of the rarest, most finite resources you have. Everyone's competing for it. I'm competing for it. TV shows are competing for it. Video games are competing for it. Board games, mobile games. And some of these things are better at getting your attention than others. Mobile games have absolutely nailed the mechanics of being able to do that. You don't need to think of it as social media, think of it as attention media, and then go one step further and realize that actually, because attention is now being siphoned away by so many AI chatbots, it's flipping again to not necessarily social media, but parasocial media. The idea of a connection. I know quite a few people who work in the adult entertainment industry, and they all tell me that a huge amount of their money comes not from the production of content, but from the connection that content provides directly to a viewer. Saying someone's name, writing someone's name on them, making something for someone else, because that is not social media, because it's not meant to be shared with everyone. It's parasocial media, meant to be shared with one specific person. It's not even attention media, because they know that someone else can get their attention easier. What they can do is the personal connection. It's now parasocial connection media. We've moved from social to attention to parasocial connection. And one of the absolute best ways to foster attention or parasocial connection is negativity. This has been proven again and again and again. It's intimacy media. That's a great way of putting it. It's not necessarily realistic access to the person, it's the facade of intimacy. But one of the absolute best ways to foster any kind of connection is shared negativity. People love to hate. And people love to hate what you hate, and people love it when you hate what they hate. Very few people actually define themselves by what they like or what they love. Most people define themselves by what they hate. You will see this often in bumper stickers on cars. You'll see it on political slogans. You'll see it on people that want to start any kind of conflict with somebody else. It's not about, hey, I like this, you like this, we should team up together. It's you hate this, I hate this, we both dislike that. We should team up together. If any of you follow me on Instagram or Twitter, you may, I'm not calling it X, you may notice that occasionally I post screenshots of negative comments that I get on YouTube videos. And whenever I do that, I get a flood of messages in my Instagram inbox from people saying, hey Josh, hope this isn't getting to you too much. Hope this isn't, starting to hurt you mentally. Hey, I don't like it when you post this negative stuff. Why do you do this? Why are you sharing that? Do you want to know the irony? You don't get those messages when you post something positive, which means if I post something positive, I get less engagement. If I post something negative, I get more engagement. And when companies come to me and say, we want to pay you for a sponsored Twitter post or a sponsored Instagram post, how much they pay me is based on the average engagement that anything gets. So if I put a post out there and it gets 100 bits of engagement, and then I put another post and it gets 100,000 bits of engagement, I now know, okay, I've got to do that again. Because if I put out something that gets only 100, what I'm actually doing is bringing my average down. Have you ever wondered why rage baiting works? It's because people absolutely cannot not engage in the rage. They need you to know that they hate it. They need you to know that they're upset. You know what a healthy way to deal with this is? Just don't care. If I see something that annoys me, I'm like, oh, why do you think my series is called Worst MMO Ever, not Best MMO Ever? In fact, I can prove this. There were 2 YouTube channels that I really like. One of them is the professor from Tellurian Community College. He put out 2 videos at the end of the year. The 5 best things to happen to Magic the Gathering, and another video called the 5 worst things to happen to Magic the Gathering. Which video do you think got more views? Substantially more views. And then, I believe it was either Midwinter Minis or Squidmar Miniatures, who paints Warhammer, they put out 2 videos at the same time about Warhammer. One of them was called, like, the best thing about Warhammer, and one of them was called the worst thing about Warhammer. Which video do you think got substantially more views? The algorithm wants negativity. It wants hatred. And the reason it wants hatred is because people share hatred. There's a great video by CGP Grey called This Video Will Make You Angry. Negativity gets shared. Why? Because negative people want negative reinforcement, because there's a level of joy to be found in the anger, in the rage. Have you ever, again, I hope you haven't, but I think we all have you ever met someone that you can tell is really angry and really bitter, but in a way, they almost revel in the anger. They revel in the bitterness. Misery loves company, as they say. Have you ever met someone that is so angry and so upset and so annoyed, and yet they do absolutely nothing to distance themselves from the thing that makes them annoyed? If anything, they actively seek it out. You see it a hell of a lot in kind of old angry man at pub, or you see it in kind of any political rally, or you see it in any video game discourse where they're like, well, I hate this. Okay, cool. Leave. Go somewhere else then. You see an old man in a British pub reading some kind of absolute crap tabloid paper, looking at it going, oh, this makes me so angry. I'm like, stop reading it then. I'm not saying be ignorant of the world. I'm saying why you're actively seeking things out that make you angry. Because on some level, you kind of enjoy that. You love hating things, and you hate loving things, because some people see that as weakness. I'm falling for the trap. We're all getting angry. Good. Because then what'll happen, and again, I've told you I'll never lie to you, what'll happen is you'll get angry, you'll get annoyed, you'll find an online personality that mirrors your exact thoughts and hates the people that you hate, and then you'll gravitate toward them and hang out, and thus an echo chamber is born. That's pretty much how it goes. Does it suck? Yes. Am I going to pretend that it doesn't exist? Of course I'm not going to pretend that. I'm going to tell you everything, because if you understand how the system works, if you can see the machinations, if you can peek behind the curtain and pay attention to the man behind the curtain, then maybe you can kind of sit back and go, you know what, maybe I don't want to be angry all the time. Maybe I don't want to be engaging with media that makes me sad and makes me upset. Have you ever seen, and again, I hate to say these words, a Reddit thread? I know, I feel dirty and disgusting just saying it, but we need to go there. Have you ever seen a thread where someone makes a comment and somebody else disagrees with them and so lets them know that they disagree? But then the original person, you're not going to believe this, replies in the negative. And then the person that replied originally to them replies again. And what you've got there is not a conversation. It's not. This is straight up not a conversation. It's not even a debate. Because a debate is when both sides are willing to change their minds and open to getting information from the other side. What you have there is an argument, where both sides are attempting to win, to beat the other person into submission until they agree with them. And I'll let you in on another secret. Nobody does that. Absolutely nobody is beaten into submission, into believing and agreeing with what you believe and agree with. They will never go, well, you know what? I did disagree with you, but now you've been a condescending arsehole to me for the last half an hour. I'm starting to think you might be right. Why is Josh crashing out? What happened? You've commented. Oh, you fell for the ruse, the trick. Notice how as soon as I start to say anything negative, people are like, well, what's going on with this? What's happening? Why is he doing this? A lot of content creators will do anything to get your attention. I'm not particularly bothered about that because YouTube does absolutely fine for me. I'm happy with that. This is a conversation with you guys where I'm answering questions. The questions are mostly, Josh, what? That's the question. And we're going through there. Didn't that happen when you bought your bride? Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. We're just chatting about stuff in general. Where was I going with this? Hang on, I had a point. I was going to make it. Let's just scroll back. What was I saying 10 minutes ago before this? You guys are going to have to help me. Your pint of Guinness can wait. If anyone else is ordering Guinness, all order it now because I'm not doing Guinness, something else, Guinness, something else, Guinness, something else. Gen Z rage bait. Give me a load of money. That was it. You want to know a secret about online debates? Most of you are going, no, Josh, we don't. It's making us angry and upset. And some of you are going, yes, we do. It's making us angry and upset. Let me tell you, no, order Guinness together. Anyone that's worked in a bar knows exactly what I'm on about. Let me explain online debates. Do we have babies? This isn't actually a bar. This is the first image on Google that comes up when you type in bar image. You want a silver gin fizz? I don't know what these are. Let me explain how online debates work. The purpose, well, what should be the purpose of a debate is stop ordering drinks. The purpose of a debate is meant to be attempting to learn the other person's side and point of view, cross-referencing it with your own point of view, your own ideas, your own facts, your own opinions, and through melting all of that information together, everyone involved coming out wiser and more fleshed out. I believe there is an excellent line in Star Trek: The Next Generation where they talk about how a courtroom is a crucible of truth where falsehoods are burned away until only the truth remains, which is a beautiful way to look at it. However, that would be a positive outcome. And remember, that would be a positive debate. Everyone learning, everyone respecting, everyone understanding. But as we have discussed, positivity is not shared. Have any of you ever had the displeasure of watching an online debate? If you haven't, don't. You could spend your time doing anything else, literally anything else. You could just spend an hour slapping yourself. You would achieve more. The point of an online debate is not to share information or to galvanize the truth or to actually, support. The purpose of an online debate is viewpoint A brings their fans, viewpoint B brings their fans, and the job of viewpoint A is not to absorb and acknowledge viewpoint B. The job of viewpoint A is to galvanize their fan base to anger the people who already agree with them into agreeing with them harder. That's the point. And point B, they don't want to absorb any ideas or consider they might be wrong. They simply want to anger and galvanize the people who already agree with them to agree with them harder. And then when the debate ends, both sides' fan bases are even more rabid in the point of view they already had. It's just supporting themselves again by making the enemy look more other than they were before. A good debate would be about actually sharing ideas respectfully. And those can happen. Those can happen. Can we agree angrily that you're a touch green today? Oh, because of the green screen. I can make it worse. The lovely us versus them framework. And some of you guys are going to understand what I'm about to say. But you know the amazing thing about acknowledging that other people are just doing stupid us versus them stuff? We're not doing that, are we? Us right here. No. We're not doing what them over there are doing. Oh, imagine being part of an us versus them group. Whew, couldn't be us. That's even better. Okay. Now the chair's doing like a weird Star Trek thing. I'm going to leave it. You can't be one of them. After all, they do bad things. Maybe I should have just made this a 10 forward bar. I think I would have very much narrowed down the amount of people who care about bar work if it's set in Star Trek specifically. I almost finished reading the social psychology textbook. Can't avoid us versus them. I'll tell you what, no one knows more about psychology than someone who has just finished reading the first psychology textbook. Now, I'm not saying you, I'm sure you know a lot about it, but I'm sure you also know a lot of people who have taken one intro to psychology class and suddenly start analyzing everyone. That's the best way. There's a saying in martial arts, and I think it's close to the Baader-Meinhof principle. The saying in martial arts is, no one knows more than a green belt. And what the saying means is, when you very first start learning martial arts, you know absolutely nothing. And then when you get about halfway through your first training session, first training couple of weeks, couple of months, you may get to green belt. And by then, you know everything. You know every single move, you know every idea, you know how everything works, every lock, every grab, every escape. You've practiced them all at least twice. And by the time you then get to black belt and beyond, you loop back and go, actually, yeah, I know nothing about how this works at all. When you get your black belt, most black belts, when you ask them about martial arts, most confident ones will say, yeah, I know pretty much nothing about this at all. Like, I got a black belt in Wado style karate. I know that I know very little about Wado style karate. Now I know how much there is to it. How do I find a job as a video editor? Like, I've got the portfolio, got the skills, but where do I look for creators? The kind of creators that care about their editors needing a video editor. All the sites and public, they're full of slop content mills. So what you can normally do is, thank you, Connor, for saying I get it, because it's a specific thing referencing both those things. I get a lot of people message me saying, hey, I would love to edit videos for you, which is great. That's very, very flattering that people want to reach out to me and do that kind of stuff. I tend to edit a lot of my own stuff just because I'm very particular with exactly how it gets made. Visa, the guy that runs the clip channel, the JoshStrifeHayes clip channel. First of all, Visa is very happy that I am back to streaming because he can clip stuff and afford another jar of mayonnaise this year. He's going to be potentially even let out of the dungeon. You guys know the story of how Visa started the channel, how Visa started the JoshStrifeHayes channel, because it was a great story. I'll tell it in the future. Later on today, I'll tell you that story. If you're a good video editor, you can email or reach out to the YouTubers that you want to work with and say, hey, can I edit a video for you? Can I, do you need any extra video editing? That can work. I thought you already told the story. That's true. See, Joel, here's a really interesting thing. You can only actually tell every Twitch story once, which means I've already told the banana story. I've already told the do you want a moist story? And if you weren't here for those, you can never hear them again. See, what comedians used to do was they would work on their comedy act, and then they would tour the world doing the same act again and again and again and again. Because people weren't recording it, people didn't know if they'd seen it before. Now, in fact, I watched an excellent video on this. Now, comedians have all of their act posted online pretty much immediately, which means that you then need to come up with your second act and your next story, and you must churn out content again and again and again and again and again. Have you noticed that there's so many clips of comedians nowadays doing crowd work? Not necessarily doing the piece from their show, the tight five, the rehearsed, but crowd work. That's because that's one of the easiest ways to clip farm new content as a comedian. You do crowd work, you clip it, you upload it, you get the Twitter views, you get the Instagram views, you get the TikTok views, and then suddenly you're putting out new material almost every week. I mean, Jimmy Carr, people say Jimmy Carr is 90% crowd work. I think he knows a lot of the comebacks already. Fresh content from crowd work, because it's all about content. Ah, right, Dippy Goose. My friends have completely different political views, far left and far right. How do I address that? Yeah, you know what? Let me go and put my hazmat suit on. Let's jump into this vat of acid and see how this goes. I have never ever seen a streamer or an internet commenter or a content creator in any way get burned by addressing this kind of topic. Now, I'm going to say a couple of whole sentences here, and you've kind of got to listen to all of them. It is okay to disagree with someone based on local political concerns, such as, who do we entrust the maintenance of the local waterway? Who do we entrust the fixing of the roads to? Should we have the local health constabulary be overseen by a council of 3 or a council of 2? They are local, small-scale, political disagreements. That's normally okay. The problem is when politics starts to encompass human rights. That's not political anymore. That's just a level of power and control. So I can disagree with someone on a political stance, but then I can also see them have a stance on a level of human rights and think, that's not political either way. Now you're just being a dick. Now you're just being a little bit offensive. Now you're just being abusive, now you're just being controlling. That's not disagreeing with someone politically. That's just disagreeing with someone on a fundamental level of respect, on a level of emotion, on a level of empathy, on a level of human connection, on a level of love in some way. That's pretty much what it is. Like if someone walks up to me and goes, you know, I completely believe that the local waterway should be overseen by a group of 3, which should vote every 2 months. I'll go, well, that's going to slow down the process. I think maybe the local waterway should be overseen by a group of 2 that vote every 1 week, and we get, you know, local letters sent to the people to see what's happening with that, to see if any kind of issues can be solved quicker. That is a political disagreement, because we're talking about the way that a society should be run locally. If someone comes up to me and goes, I think all of these people from this minority should die, I'm going to go, that's not politics, my friend. That's not political. That's illegal. That's wrong in every way. And everyone from every side can probably look at that and go, you've pushed away from politics into just hate. Let's not do that. So yeah, that's ideological. Well, this is my last stream. It's been lovely having you all here, guys. I'm sure this has gone well. We should levy a tax to build this new school. How dare you use the T word in this stream? That's a political discussion. Inspiration for Rick Plan, the Lord Flashart from Blackadder. For all the Patreon credits, it was fun. How many of you, and again, be honest. You can be honest, I'll listen. How many of you have seen content creators, whether it be influencers, whether it be Twitch streamers, whether it be YouTubers, whether it be, you know, social media stars, reality TV stars, effectively anyone that has an audience. How many times have you seen them switch to get quite political on either side? You're watching one. True. How many of you have seen them get quite political? I will explain why they do that. Remember earlier that I said social media is no longer social media. It's now attention media and parasocial connection media. And remember I said that hatred and who people dislike is shared and viewed and engaged with far more often than positive things that people like. Combine those together and you have almost a framework, a blueprint on how to get a load of attention and keep it. Say something that is galvanizing to one side of a hatred spectrum and say it again and again and again and again and again and convince people that you hear them directly. It's influence media. It's also remarkably easy to do because then everyone supports you because that's your side. The lack of bartending is affecting your immersion. Have some gamer subs. There you go. This one has a Mile High Club girl on it with big boobs. Or you can have this gamer subs, which has a military girl on it with big boobs. Hatred Spectrum would be a badass band name. It would. You can have that. It's totally there. It's not influence media. It's affirmation media. It is affirmation media. I can't believe that other people do that. You guys, however, you come to this stream, which you know is better. Well done. See? I can do it too. It's very easy. Can I have a game of subs where they're small? No. Stop it, says Jerry. No, you guys know you're better than this. See? Us better, them bad. You mentioning big boobs repeatedly makes it hard to focus on what's happening on the main screen. I'm sorry, but we are stupid. No, Gothborn, I am stupid for referring to you as goat earlier. Thank you for the political advice. Yeah, if you're gonna get involved in local politics, do that. You currently have all the prerequisites of getting a mortgage and buying my own home and stop being a tenant. Congratulations. However, every time I think about taking the steps toward home ownership, I think with dread over all the uncertainties that come with that. The uncertain times we live in, interest suddenly rising. How do I rationally weigh the upsides and downsides of this decision? That is an excellent question, and absolutely one you should ask to a trained and qualified mortgage advisor. However, you have come to an online streamer, which of course, as we all know, is the better choice, because I will be able to answer your question specifically with understanding of your exact situation, despite not knowing you and probably will never meet you. Let me explain. Sometimes there is a phrase in the finance, in the home ownership, in the landlord world. It's a rather complex phrase, and the phrase is, fuck it, we ball. And what that means is sometimes You just got to buy a house. You just got to do it. Sometimes you do it by accident. Who among us hasn't just walked down the street one day, down the high street, you've popped into an off license to get a Kit Kat, you've popped into a Spoons to take a half-mile detour to the toilets, you've popped into estate agents and bought a house. We've all done that, you know, except millennials. They wouldn't do that. I did say among us as well. If like just buy one. Like if you don't have any money, just ask mum and dad. If millennials stopped spending so much money on avocado toast, I guarantee you that boomers would find some way to complain about millennials killing the avocado toast industry. Oh, millennials shouldn't spend all their money on this. Okay, we won't. Oh, millennials are killing the industry. What do you want? Do you want us to spend or not spend? Oh, both. Based on whatever I'm feeling at the time. Any advice for Japan trips? I've been to Japan exactly once in my life, which, as you all know, makes me an expert. In fact, when I went over to Japan, they had a nickname for me almost immediately, straight away, which was, you know, quite endearing, because they see Westerners as very exotic, very powerful, very different. So when I went over there, I believe they called me Baka, which was a term of endearment from the locals. And I say the locals, it was mostly the girls at about 2 o'clock in the morning outside maid cafes who were trying to get me into the maid cafe. But I still believe that the sentiment was there. So what you want to do when you go over to Japan for the first time is immediately go and buy a kimono. They respect that. Then go and buy a samurai sword. Then go to the gachapon places and just keep spending money. Just keep doing that. That's absolutely fine. You'll then want to go to any torii gate and do as many pull-ups as you can. That's now totally fine. It's okay. They respect that. And if you see any of the lovely cherry blossoms, the sakura blossoms, feel free to go and mess with them. That's fine too. It's all good stuff, see? I'm giving you all this kind of stuff, all this information. You're writing this down. Good. We have an actual question. Guys, everyone stop. There's an actual question there. That's fine. I'm embarrassed to ask this. Don't be. No one will ever know who you are. If you're ever embarrassed to ask something, think about this. This is a very, very important thing. I will answer your question in a second. If you are ever in a group setting, this is one thing that I've learned that I've never forgotten. If you're ever in a group setting and the teacher or the instructor says, does anyone have any questions? Or do you want to see that again? Your answer is always, yes, I want to see that again. Or yes, I've got a really simple question. And then you ask something simple. And the reason for this is you might not need to see it again. You might not have that question, but I guarantee somebody in that room does, and they are not confident enough to say it. So by taking that bullet for them, by asking and saying, hey, I'll ask this question, you are giving them what they need without them needing to ask, which is a really important thing to do. So when people ask questions, you might not even be asking it for you. You're just asking it because somebody probably needs to know it and wants to say it, but doesn't quite have the ability to say it. So let's just assume that everything you're asking is for everyone's point. I'm in my mid-20s, okay? Never had a girlfriend, and getting worried because I've been rejected multiple times for the reason of being inexperienced. And the few dates I had, they said it wasn't working out, or I tried asking out several girls, but at this point I feel bad that I am missing out and the inexperience is holding me back. This is an interesting one. To be fair, that is a problem that a lot of people will have and will face. It's also one of the most common things people tend to ask about. I think Healthy Gamer GG gets asked a lot of stuff about kind of relationships and connections. So let's actually chat about that. Seriously. The whole how do you get a girlfriend thing. The easiest way is to be the kind of person that everyone likes being around. And that doesn't always mean that you need to be stupidly over the top, stupidly exciting, or incredibly energetic all the time. You don't need to be the kind of stereotypical life of the party. Not all the time. That's not what people mean when they say be the kind of person that someone likes being around. There are simple things. Saying please and thank you, showering, making sure that you're dressed nicely, wear some nice smelling cologne, take care of your hair, take care of your skin, have a little bit of pride in your appearance. Not arrogance, but a little bit of effort put into it. That's absolutely fine. Then being comfortable with yourself, being happy to chat, being comfortable in whatever hobbies you want to have without forcing them onto other people. It's totally okay to be into stuff. Like I was talking to someone and they actually said to me they stopped collecting Yu-Gi-Oh! Because they didn't want to be the kind of guy that collected Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards. What? Are you thinking that that hobby is overshadowing and overwriting your personality and you just become that one-dimensional idea within someone's mind? You don't need to do that. A ton of Magic the Gathering cards. I've got some Yu-Gi-Oh cards somewhere, the original Blue Eyes White Dragon deck, because it was on sale again. That was super cool. I bought that. It's totally okay to be into nerdy stuff, weird stuff, stuff that has subculture connections, as long as you don't make it your overwhelming personality, as long as you're comfortable talking about it and stuff like that. As far as that goes, there will be other people who are also inexperienced, uncomfortable talking about things, and also willing to sit down and connect. The problem is the kind of people that want to be able to go out and meet people are not always the kind of person that goes out to meet people. If you have someone who stays inside all day and they think, oh, I wish I could meet someone like me, the irony is the other people like you are also staying inside all day. Therefore, it will be difficult for you to meet them. This is why when you go and do a hobby or go and do a shared thing, that's where you meet people that enjoy that. Comic-Cons, MCM, geek and gaming meetups, board game cafes, Magic the Gathering nights. I met some really good friends of mine at Magic the Gathering nights. I've gone to their weddings and everything. It's okay to be inexperienced. It's okay to not know stuff. And it's okay to not be moving as fast as you think everything else has to move. Yeah, a pot noodle is ready in 20 minutes, but a full Sunday lunch takes a couple of hours. Just because you are not ready and at the same pace as everyone else around you, or who you think everyone else around you is, doesn't mean that you're at the wrong pace. You try to stick a Sunday lunch in the microwave for 2 minutes, you're not going to finish it. I guarantee that when you say, oh, everyone around me is like that, that's hyperbole. We know it's hyperbole. You're going to an extreme to give an example. We understand what's going on with that. But I absolutely guarantee that it's not everyone. It's nowhere near everyone. It's just this almost confirmation bias of the people that you are seeing are the people that are out to be seen. That's the kind of thing. Imagine if you went skydiving and you sit on the plane and you've got like 10 other people in the plane and they all jump off in front of you and you kind of sit back and go, I can't believe everyone's skydiving. They're not. The people that you are around are, because you are in the situation to see them do that. But the vast majority of people are not doing that. So if you are in a situation where you are seeing everyone doing something, I guarantee that it's actually a very small minority of people that are doing what you're seeing, because the most people are just not seeing that. Are you missing out? Is the inexperience holding you back? The inexperience with anything isn't necessarily about finding someone else who is experienced, whether that's in physical stuff, whether it's in hobbies, whether it's in cultural things, whether it's in ideas, and then asking them to effectively guide you. Sometimes it's a case of being around and hanging out with people who are also inexperienced at stuff and working it out together. I remember the first time me and my friend Chris tried to play Magic the Gathering together. We had no idea how it worked. We had to Google the rules. We had to, watch some YouTube videos on it. We still got it wrong. So when you say the inexperience is holding you back and you've asked out several girls, do you actually like each individual person, or do you just want the generic girl with you? Is it a case of, I really like this person. I like their company. I like their ideals. I like their belief system. I like their attitude. I like their morals. I like hanging out with them. It becomes a connection with a human being. Or is it just reduced to the single defining trait of this is girl? Because that, unfortunately, is what I see happen a hell of a lot. It's the same with, it doesn't need to be girl, it can be guy as well. It's the case of, I just want person. Person must be with me. Because in order to achieve completeness, I must have person. It's okay to not do that. It's okay to say, you know what? I'm just going to get to know someone, to chat to this person, to hang out with them, to be their friend. I think one of the biggest lessons that people end up learning is that, especially because guys, I generally tend to talk to the male demographic because they're the people that watch me and they are the people that kind of generally come for advice and ask. And it's the lived experience that I have that I know of. But people need to kind of understand, guys need to understand that Girls are not a separate species. They're human beings. And people go, oh, I'm going to hang out with my guy friends and do this, and hang out with my girlfriends and do this. Well, you can just hang out with your friends and enjoy stuff together. Have you ever seen those things? And it always happens in, like, again, I'll use Magic the Gathering as an example. Have you ever seen someone who is socially awkward attempt to interact with someone they find attractive and treat them like another creature, another idea, an alien? The idea of, oh my God, can't believe a girl is playing Magic the Gathering. Do you want me to help you, milady, tip of the fedora? It's totally okay to treat people just like a normal person that you're hanging out with, that you're sharing a kind of shared experience with. And then if someone's like, you know, it'd be cool if we hang out some more. Okay, fantastic. Let's hang out some more. Yeah. Love that quote. I'm in my 50s, looking back at my 20s, such an idiot. If you don't look back at your younger self and think that your younger self was an idiot, you have not matured. Almost everyone looks back at their younger self and they're like, oh my God, what was I doing? I was making so many mistakes. I was a mixed up Rubik's Cube trying to force everyone else to fit the colors that I already had on my mismatched faces, instead of just slowly working it out until I find the combination that I feel comfortable as. Instead of going, hey, this is where I am now, I'm not going to work on myself, everyone else has to adapt, the world has to bend to me. Instead of saying, okay, it sucks. It's okay for it to suck. There is no immediate answer that anyone can give that is going to fix every problem in your life. And I know that everyone hates hearing the whole delete Facebook, go to the gym thing, but it is a useful thing to do. Reduce time on social media, drink more water, walk more, be proud of the hobbies that you have, and be willing to talk to people, guy or girl, attractive or unattractive, interested in, not interested in, and just be a decent person with it. I am the mortgage guy from a bit ago. I apologize for wording the previous question poorly. You didn't. That was great. I was wondering how to deal with the anxiety that comes with making that kind of big decision. That's a good question. So there is a great deal of comfort that comes with not needing to make a decision, with not needing to be responsible. There's lots of safety to it. I've been in jobs before where people have said, hey, do you want a promotion? And I've said, honestly, no, because the pay increase that the job would bring is not worth the increase in responsibility, the increase in stress, the increase in pressure that would bring. But in doing so, you do become better at dealing with it. You do become more comfortable at going through the uncomfortable situations and learning how to deal with it. If you rent, and I've rented for a long time, then it is the landlord's responsibility in order to deal with the problems. That's what their job, in theory, should be. Whether landlord or not should be a job, that is a discussion we'll have another time. But right now we're talking about the practicality of it. By buying a house and becoming your own landlord and becoming an owner of that, you are taking on the responsibility to effectively do all of that. And it is nerve-wracking, terrifying to a degree, but you're also shouldering the responsibility, and in doing so, shouldering the reward for being able to handle that responsibility. How much responsibility you want in life compared to how much authority you want, that's up to you. You're terrified of getting a mortgage and then losing your job. Absolutely. That is a fair thing to be terrified of. That's not, people go, oh, it's one of those completely unjustified fears. No, that's a realistic fear. And the fact that you are considering it shows a level of wisdom. You need to be able to consider it. You need to be able to understand that considering the problems, considering the pitfalls and the potentials is a level of wisdom. How many of you have ever met or know of someone that you would not consider the wisest or the most intelligent, and yet they have succeeded at remarkably complicated things? I've met people like this before. I've met people and I've looked at them, not in a kind of judgy, harsh way, in a more kind of inquisitive way. I'm part of that. And I've gone, how the hell have you done this? How have you done any of this? Let me explain. When you start a project, you begin at the start and you get to the end. Sounds simple. But you will face problems along the way. That's just how all projects work. If you are remarkably intelligent, you will probably be able to see lots of those problems from the start. And that's quite overwhelming. That's quite scary because you straight away think, I can't solve all of these problems. And you know what? If you try to solve them all at the same time, you are probably right. But let's imagine that you weren't able to see as far ahead. You're still going to face the problems when you get to them, but you can't see them yet. You're effectively playing life on a lower render distance. Low graphics is switched on. You start the project because you can't even consider the problems you're going to face. Then you get to the first problem. Now, it's a big problem, but there's only one of them. So all your focus is on solving that problem. There's no switching of focus. And you solve it. Then you push through the process, then you get to the second problem. And it's the only one you can see. You can't even consider something else happening. And so you solve it, and then you push on. There is a level of benefit to not being able to see every problem because it prevents you from overanalyzing and analysis paralysis, locking yourself out of ever trying. There are some people I know who refuse to try something because they know how complicated it's going to be. And if you refuse to even try, your success rate is guaranteed 0. Then there are other people I know who I would not consider as worldly wise, as intelligent, as well-schooled, as smart, and yet they think, I'm going to give that a go. And they get to the first problem. Now, the fact that they've got to the first problem at all means they are already ahead of somebody who didn't start. Now, there's only one of two ways this can go. Solve it, don't solve it. And normally, they solve it. And then they get to the next problem. Then they solve it. Next problem. Then they solve it. Next problem. Then they solve it. And then you end up looking back and going, how has that person succeeded? It's simple. They actually got to the problems. That's one of the best ways to do it. Get to the problem. The smart person is aware of how many problems they're going to get to, so doesn't bother trying to get to them. The person that is tenacious enough to do it knows that it's going to be difficult, but can't specifically say, and so just goes to it. You will do everything incorrectly. Absolutely. But sometimes doing it incorrectly is part of the process of getting to the point of doing it correctly. You say that you're looking into getting a mortgage, which is a very big, very scary thing. You are clearly intelligent enough to understand the complexities that come with this. But you are anything potentially so intelligent that you are considering every possible problem in the future. Have you ever met someone that you would consider potentially quite stupid who also has a mortgage? I have. And I'm looking at them going, how? You know when you're like 7 or 8 and you just assume that grown-ups know what they're doing? And then there'll be a moment in life where you meet the first grown-up and you realize they have no idea what they're doing. And there's almost a shattering. There's a moment of, oh my God, this person is actually quite stupid. This person is not intelligent at all. This person has no idea what they're doing, and yet they're driving. And yet they have a mortgage, or they are renting, or they have a child, or they have a really responsible job. So if you know all these problems you're going to face, speak to the people that you think can help you, get as much advice as you can, and then accept that there will be the problems in the future. But, and I cannot stress this enough, if you're going to get a mortgage, talk to a mortgage advisor. Josh, will she come back to me? That's a good question. And that depends. Did you quick save and or auto save after you have left the map? Because if you did, you may need to restart. I went from 140 kilograms to 73, all in the hope of getting laid. Well, that's where it's going to fall down. Got laid once, but no other girls are interested. At which day do I train my personality? Right, okay, so if you're doing push-pull legs, you then have to do personality afterwards. That's the problem. And I try and explain this to people, charisma is the most powerful stat. Charisma is the overpowered stat, without a doubt. When people go, oh, charisma, it's not going to work. Danny DeVito. Danny DeVito is what happens when you max charisma and everything else is a dump stat. You need to be able to train your personality as well. He can be covered in Vaseline and still be charismatic. If anything, he's more charismatic. Introspection. The dumbbell of the mind. This is a muscle, guys. Train this as well. How do I train my charisma? That's actually a good question. Do you think you can? I'll tell you what you don't do. You don't watch guides on how to be charismatic. You don't necessarily have to watch these podcast alpha bros on who will, tell you, because charisma isn't a video game. It isn't an option where there is a right and a wrong choice. There is the level of listening, there is the level of compassion, there is the level of understanding, there is the level of humanity, there is the level of people feeling safe. People don't understand why women don't like them. Normally it's because you treat women like a different species that have to be manipulated, and I have to explain to people that women are not machines that you put kindness coins into until sex falls out. It's totally okay to just be friends with someone because you enjoy their company and like hanging out with them. And when you do that, other people will look and go, hey, that guy's quite fun to hang out with. That's fun. Let's do that. I remember a story. I don't remember where I read it, but I remember the story specifically. Advice for going into your 30s. Honestly, I've enjoyed them more than my 20s. Genuinely. People are all like, oh, you're getting old now. No, I've enjoyed it far more. You want to make your own game, but you don't find the motivation despite knowing in the long run I would be happier doing that instead of a normal 8-hour job, because when I get home, part of me wants to play games and relax despite wanting to learn game dev. That's a really interesting thing to look at, Halo Crash. Cool name, by the way. How many of you go to work for 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 hours, get home, and then the first thing you want to do is just relax? Because I think that is a trap. First of all, there's nothing wrong with doing that. There's nothing wrong with you. That's the way the system has been set up. You're fighting against a very complicated system that has been designed to do that to you. People think the word relax means don't put any effort into things. I design board games as a hobby. I design card games as a hobby. I've got some stuff that I've been working on. It's effort. It's energy. It is draining to do. And whenever I've had family or some friends who have seen me do this, they often say to me, oh, why are you doing that? Do something easier. Relax. Because to them, the word relax means stop putting effort in. Stop trying. Stop, draining yourself of doing this. And I have to explain to people that sometimes the feeling of achievement is so strong and so powerful and so beneficial that it is worth the input of effort. Because the feeling of achieving something is more beneficial in the long run than just relaxing into doing nothing. Imagine someone that goes hiking on the weekend. They get in from their job, which is physically and mentally draining. And then the next thing they do is another physically and mentally draining thing. How does it make sense that they've got in from their job where they are physically and mentally exhausted and they put on their hiking clothes and go out and hike and physically and mentally exhaust themselves again? It's because the feeling of achievement that they get from doing that, the feeling of, I don't want to say pride and accomplishment because that's copyright to EA, but yeah, the feeling of pride and accomplishment they get from doing that is so much more beneficial to them and so much more worthwhile. So when you get into your house from your job, when you are physically tired, everything around you is set up to give you all the dopamine you need with absolutely no input from you at all. TV will tell you what to watch. YouTube will recommend for you what to watch. Spotify will pretty much just start playing something right away. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all of them designed to endlessly scroll forever to give you instant gratification with no energy. Just mainline it straight into your veins and just sit down and let the dopamine flow. That's what the machine wants you to do. But if you want to design a game, it's okay to be tired while doing it. It's okay to be shattered while doing it. It's okay to be bored while doing it. Because when you finally actually create something, when you finally achieve something, the feeling of accomplishment of doing that will be so much more powerful, orders of magnitude more powerful than anything any preset scroll could possibly give you. And that's okay. This doesn't sound as motivational as you may think. I'm not trying to sound motivational because motivation is fickle. Motivation comes and goes. Motivation waits to be ready, and then she says, yeah, let's do a little bit for a little bit, but we're not going to do it again. Motivation is one of the most inconsequential, one of the most annoying, one of the most ephemeral things that you can possibly have. Discipline matters far more because that's what gets you up and going when you know that you don't want to do it. Consider this. How many times have you gone to your job not because you're motivated to go to your job, but because you're disciplined enough to know that you need to go and do your job? And then when you get home, you aren't motivated enough to do your favorite hobby or your entire idea or your creation of whatever it is, and you aren't disciplined to do it, so you simply sit down and take the easiest possible route. Why do you have discipline when it comes to stuff that you don't want to do? But when it's stuff that is valuable to you and creates you and makes you, suddenly you need to wait for the motivation. Now, some people said that you go to your job because they pay you. Yeah, because you're disciplined enough to know that you need that. Your motivation for that is, okay, well, I need the money. I'm disciplined enough to know I need to keep going to do that. Needs versus wants. You are doing it because you are disciplined enough to keep doing it. You are motivated enough to keep doing it because it has a direct thing that you need to take. And then suddenly you want to do something, but you don't really want to do it. Or maybe you do want to do it, but you can't make your brain do that. One's optional, the other's not. Ultimately, you get to choose who you want to be. Whenever I say to someone, what do you do? I don't want to know what their job is. I even say that to someone. Now, what do you do? Not your job, but what do you do outside of that? Because I don't really care what someone's job is. I care about what they do beyond that.